We have a few minutes on horrible bosses, Mark.
Well, I think...
Okay, that's all you need in a word. Okay.
Oh, all right. Well, the problems are it's not as funny as it needs to be by quite a long way, and it's certainly not as funny as Bridesmaids. That was where I was going with that thing, but I did say I laughed more at Bridesmaids than I did at this. That's not to say that it's not without some laughs. I had scribbled down a note that Kevin Spacey's character was very similar to the character he plays in Swimming with Sharks, which is something that he brought up in that interview that you did. This isn't as funny or escabrous as Swimming with Sharks. I think the thing is that from the title and from the poster, what I wanted was something which was dark, edgy, acerbic, satirical, and I didn't get that. What I got was something which did have some funny jokes in it. Jamie Foxx's character being called Melon Farmer Jones, for example, is one of the funniest riffs in the film about how is it that he's called Melon Farmer Jones. And it turns out that he had to change his name because the name he had before was the name of a character from Herbie the Love Bug. And actually, those little bits on their own are funny. The problem is that it descends far too often into the kind of just crass vulgarity which has now become absolutely standard in what's 15 certificate rom-coms. I mean, I remember seeing Clerks, however you want to pronounce it, back in the 90s and thinking, blimey, Charlie, this is hilariously funny, but partly because I've never heard language like this before used in a cinema. Nowadays, you just take it as, for granted that that's what a modern comedy sounds like. And I do find that relentlessly Boise humour a little bit frustrating, particularly when it's not that funny anymore, and there certainly aren't enough laughs. The other thing is, and this may spill over to the other side of the news, I have a central problem. The character that Jennifer Aniston plays is this sort of nymphomaniac, sexually molesting dentist, okay, who molests not only her patients, but primarily one of the characters who is meant to be her assistant, okay? And you can just imagine in the meeting when they say, well, here's what we've done. We've inverted the standard thing, okay? The sexual predator is a woman, okay? So therefore we're doing something radical. We're doing something different. The man is the victim. The woman has got the power. That's what's funny about it, okay? The problem with that gag is that gag doesn't work if the woman in question is Jennifer Aniston. Actually, if you're making a joke about that sort of thing, the joke should be that the woman is actually somebody who the men would feel threatened by, as opposed to what the movie does, which is make a completely different joke, which is, Jennifer Aniston, and in a way, that kind of completely embodies what's wrong with the film. It's not that it doesn't have the strength of its comedic convictions. It's that he doesn't have any comedic convictions not to have the strength of in the first place.
Could you want to construct that sentence?
Not really.
No.
What I mean is, in order for that kind of comic inversion to work, in the way that somebody like, for example, Ricky Gervais or perhaps the Python, somebody who actually had a satirical take on it, which is, let's take a common scenario and turn it on its head and see what it looks like. The end result is you wouldn't end up with that, because the gag, actually, what they're saying is, we think that if we cast this role as somebody other than Jennifer Aniston, i.e. somebody other than somebody that we think that the majority of the male audience is going to find attractive in these circumstances, they might genuinely feel threatened by it, and that wouldn't be funny. The way it's funny is that they're not threatened by it. The joke is, Jennifer Aniston. The problem is that that's not funny, and it's also not threatening and not inverting the thing that they're meant to be inverted. So it's like, hang on, if you're going to do this gag, you don't cast Jennifer Aniston in that role.
Do you think you're over-analysing this?
Because
the people who want to go and see this film and who will enjoy it, and there are some laughs in it, particularly in the first half.
There's some laughs in it.
Yeah, okay, I get your point, but, I don't care.
Okay, the reason I'm making that point is that as a comedy, there aren't enough laughs. And just to preempt somebody saying, yes, but it's really clever because what it's doing is inverting male, female, gender. No, it's not. What it's doing is making exactly the same gag to the male. What bothers me about it is that it's not brave enough to actually upset the male audience. I would compare this, for example, to Bridesmaids. I do think one of the reasons that Bridesmaids has produced some quite hostile reactions, it may well be that people just don't find it funny. That's perfectly fair. But it may also be that some audiences don't feel comfortable with a comedy in which there really isn't anything for the men to do at all. And I think with this, there's a real duplicity involved in we've inverted the gender stereotypes, but we haven't really. Actually, we don't want to do anything that would make the kind of Boise audience feel in the slightest bit threatened. Had they done that, I would at least have been able to say, it's not funny, but at least it's doing something. Or maybe it would have been funny.Maybe it would have actually been funnier, rather than just that joke is a rubbish joke and it doesn't work.
Is that central problem the same as that poster which came out a few years ago? When it was a poster of Robert Redford with the caption underneath, "Would you sleep with this man for $1 million?"
Oh, Indecent Proposal.
Yeah, to which everyone was saying,
Robert Redford.
How about $5? What's the problem? That it was sort of not really an issue.
Well, yes, there are. I mean, obviously the gender thing doesn't quite work there, but yes, clearly the problem was the edge was taken off it by the fact that it is the Great Gatsby asking you that, or the Sundance Kid, or whatever it is, as opposed to I agree.